Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's Courtney Miracle. It's about 6 o'clock Denver time, and I just want to jump on. I shared with you guys a couple weeks ago my new start to my journey with Hungry for Happiness. And my goal is really just to share my experiences and see if it resonates with other people, and just kind of go from there. So, anyway, don't mind my sunburn and my like crazy forehead right now. We went to San Diego this weekend. We got a little adult time, and it was actually really cold on Saturday, and then sort of nice on Sunday. And we were like, oh, we'll go walk around. And like being Brandon and I, we walked for like 7 hours probably, or 7 miles. We were out forever, but it was like that incidental sun where it wasn't like super warm, but we got sunburned. So anyway, so when you guys jump on, give me a hello, a hi, tell me where you're listening from. But yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of get into it. So for me, you guys, I've had body image issues my whole life, and so with this program that I'm starting, it's called Hungry for Happiness. It's kind of helping us like figure out where that stuff is stemming from and how do we work on it, heal it, fix it. I hate that word. Hey, Steven. Hey, Brandon. And then like, how do we help other people? So the big goal of this for me is, you guys, is to have more that I can help other people, go through their journeys and accept themselves and, kind of end dieting and just really love ourselves. So, about a month and a half ago, hi Rosie, I stopped doing macros. So a little bit of my backstory is I've always been like a psychotic counter. So literally when I was younger, I would lay in bed and like I could count calories. Like I could tell you everything I ate and exactly what the calorie count was every night. And like my goal was to keep it like under 1,200. And I was running, 2 miles a day or 2 hours a day and lifting. And like, I was crazy, right? I was starved to death, right? So I was, at that point, like exercise induced anorexic. And I was psychotic about it. I mean, literally a friend of mine who we call Banjo, Adam, if you ever listen to this, one day I was talking about calories and I was like freaking out because Diet Monster said it didn't have any calories, but it had carbs. And I was like, well, how does it have carbs and not have calories? And like, that's how crazy I was. And he was like, we've been skiing all day, whatever. Like, he's like, if you say calorie one more time, I'm going to kick you out of your own truck. And like, he wasn't kidding. And like, I was crazy and I was obsessed with it. And then I got over that, right? Like I started doing zone and I kind of got through that. Well, as of recently, like I've been counting macros. And so there's a thing about counting macros that gave me some consistency, right? Like I knew what was going in, I knew what was going out. And don't get me wrong, like, do I think you should know what you're eating? Do I think it should be healthy? Do I think it should help like fuel your body? Do I think it helps your performance? Like, do I think you need all that stuff? Absolutely. Like, do I think there's a time and place for macros? For most people, absolutely. But when you come from a background of disordered eating, it started to become an obsession, right? And not a healthy obsession. Like and so the thing we're talking about right now is like, what are you actually feeling? Like, what does your body actually feel versus like, what are you telling yourself, right? Like, and so we're trying to work on like inner child, and that's a whole nother thing, but, like feeling into our bodies, like, what does your body actually feel? And so, for me, I realized that when I was counting, and like obsessively counting, that I had no idea what I was feeling. Like, it was all in my head. Everything was in my head, right? And so like body image is a huge thing for me. It always has been. But I realized that I didn't ever know what I was going to feel. So like I would count my macros, and if I hit my numbers, then the next day I was like, oh, I should feel, or I do feel good because I hit my numbers, right? Like, so I don't know how I actually felt, but like in my head I was like, oh, I should feel skinny, or I should feel lean, or whatever like good was to me that day. It was like, this is how I should feel. And if I, had a cheat day or had a glass of wine or whatever, the next morning I would get up and be like, oh, you feel terrible. Like, you look terrible. You must be fat. You must have gained 10 pounds. Like, none of that ever happened. And none of it was real. But in my head, it was really real. And so, like, I never actually knew what I felt like. I knew what I was telling myself I felt like. And, like, if I was super clean, I was like, oh, I feel this way or I feel that way or, like, whatever. But, like, I wasn't feeling it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if I eat more vegetables and I eat clean, like, yes, physically I feel better. But, like, how I felt about myself or how I felt when I looked in the mirror didn't change. And so when I stopped counting macros and, like, purposely, like, I'm trying not to, like, think about what I'm eating, like, and here's the thing, you guys, when I don't count macros, it's not like I go crazy. I'm not going to McDonald's. I'm not doing anything crazy. Like, I have pretty good habits. I'm probably still eating most of what I was before, but I'm not obsessively counting it. And so I started to realize that, like, I get up in the morning and like I've stopped weighing myself, which is the biggest thing I needed to do because it was messing with my head. And if you've been there, it's like the scale is a measure. We do it for a lot of people, but it can't be the measure. And for me, it was a bad thing. Like, it was just messing with me. And so I can get up in the morning now and be like, oh, how do I actually feel? Like, do I feel good? Like, I'm listening to my body's hunger cues. Like, not what I think I have to eat, not when I'm supposed to eat, and not all those things. Like, I'm just like, oh, am I hungry? Do I feel like I need more carbs? Do I feel like I need more fat? Like, I'm listening to my body. I'm not restricting, and I'm not, like, binging, whatever. I'm just, like, I'm going with it. And I've done this long enough that, like, I know what my body needs, and I need to trust myself, and I need to feel into my body and get out of my head. So, for me, I started to realize, like, wow, like, I get up in the morning, I don't have this preconceived notion of, like, oh, you must be fat or you must be skinny today, right? And for a lot of you, it probably sounds silly for me to say that, but that's how I think. And I'm, I'll be honest, like, there's issues here, right? And so I realized this weekend, so we went to San Diego. We earned a trip from Lavelle, so it was awesome. Brandon and I got to go away. They paid for most of it, which is amazing. And I realized that when I was always restricting and always watching my macros, that when I had free days or free meals or whatever, I felt this like urge, like if I'm going to have ice cream, I better have like a lot of ice cream, right? Because like I don't do it very often. So if I'm going to do it ever, I got to go crazy, right? And so it was like this almost like back in the day when I was like anorexic and bulimic, you know, it was like restrict, and then binge, right? And so it wasn't quite that bad, but it was still that feeling of like, oh, if I'm going to eat this, I better really go big, right? So we were in Texas a couple weeks ago for a gym thing, and then I was sick last week, and then this weekend we were gone, and I really have just been like eating when it sounded good and being logical and like feeling pretty good. Like I haven't had as many workouts, so I don't feel as great there, but whatever, like was feeling okay. And so we got to San Diego, and like normally my brain on vacation would be like, okay, it's vacation, like I'm gonna go big, I'm gonna blah blah blah, whatever. And then I feel terrible, like I feel awful because like I don't eat like that, I don't drink that much, I don't feel like that doesn't work for me. So I realized when we got there, I was like, yeah, I want to have a glass of wine. Like, I don't feel like I needed to have a bunch of glasses of wine. And I didn't feel like, like I had an Eggs Benedict and I wanted part of one of the muffins, but I didn't want the rest of it. I didn't have to have it because I wasn't telling myself that I couldn't have it. So for me, it was a really big realization that like not counting and not restricting is actually really beneficial for me on a mindset thing of letting me actually feel into what I feel like. So the other thing I realized is like we'd get up in the morning and, go to get dressed and I'd be like, oh, I feel pretty good. I look pretty good. Or like, I think I look pretty good or whatever. Mostly that I feel good. And I was pretty like, I'm really bad at like loving myself. And so, I felt pretty good while we were gone. I was like, okay, this is awesome. We were active. We worked out. Like, whatever. We're still doing our thing. So that was my thought before I got home. And then I got home and I went upstairs and I went to change my clothes. And I looked in the mirror that I always look in. And I was like, oh, you look terrible. And like, it was the weirdest thing. And like, for me, it's just awareness of all this stuff. And so I'm like sharing with you guys to see if like this happens to you guys. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, you look terrible. And I was like, do I really look terrible? But like in that mirror, I've been my leanest and I've been my worst. And like all I could think to myself is we've lived in this house for about 2 years. I was like, how many stories have I told myself looking in that mirror about how I'm not good enough or how it's not enough or I need to do better or I need to be stricter, I need to be cleaner or whatever. And it was a really interesting revelation that like you remove yourself from one situation and your thoughts and your feelings are completely different than in another situation. So like for you guys, if any of you are going through this, like reach out. I'd love to chat. Like it's just, or share your experiences. Like really, I'm doing this just to share what's going on with me. Cause it's going to be a great journey in the next 10 months. And like the realizations have already been kind of crazy. Because really you guys, when it gets down to it, like if you don't fix your relationship with yourself, and with food, like you're never going to get to where you want to be, and really your relationships with everything. So anyway, those are the things that I've realized. It's really crazy when you start to actually like let yourself feel into your body and turn your brain off. Like if you're like me, my brain dictates everything, which is not really good for me. So, anyway, that is what I know. There's one more thing I was going to say. Oh, the other thing that was interesting is normally I would go on a trip, and we would eat badly. And I would come home and I'd be like, okay, I got to go super strict. I got to do blah, 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 blah. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And it was like a punishment kind of thing. And like today I got back and I was like, okay, like I want to eat a lot of vegetables because we didn't have as many veggies. And I was like, I want to eat lean protein, and like, I don't want wine for a while and whatever. And so like, it was kind of interesting to want to do it and for my body to be craving it versus like my brain saying, oh, you got to go back to restriction and you got to go back to cutting all this stuff out, instead of saying like, oh, this stuff makes you feel good. You should do this to feel good and not because you feel bad about yourself. So anyway, that is what I have so far. Like I said, I'm 2 weeks in for Hungry for Happiness. If you guys want to know anything about what that program is, Samantha Skelly is freaking amazing. But yeah, it's hungryforhappiness.com. Or if you want to reach out to me, that'd be awesome. But thanks for listening. Hope you guys are doing great, and I'll talk to you soon.